Are you over 50? This is the creatine truth nobody told you. What if I told you the real effects of creatine after 50 aren't the ones most people are talking about? Sure, you've probably heard all about muscle growth and strength gains. That's what dominates almost every video and article out there. But here's the thing, those are just the surface level benefits. There's a whole other side to creatine that often goes unnoticed, especially as you get older. These aren't dramatic overnight transformations. They're subtle shifts, small changes in how your body feels, performs, and even recovers. And surprisingly, these changes can have a bigger impact on your progress than the obvious ones. Some of them can boost your motivation and make you feel like you're finally getting results again. Others might leave you second-guessing whether creatine is even working at all. And that confusion? It's exactly why so many people quit too early, or use it the wrong way. So today, we're going beyond the basics. We're diving into creatine after 50, the hidden effects that nobody really talks about. The ones that can either push you forward or quietly hold you back if you don't understand what's happening. But before we begin, drop your name and the city you're watching from in the comments below. Alright, let's get started. Number 1, the scale might go up and that can mess with you. Let's start with something that catches almost everyone off guard. You begin taking creatine, you're feeling good, staying consistent, and then suddenly the number on the scale goes up. Not weeks later, sometimes within just a few days. And if your goal is to stay lean or even lose weight, that moment can mess with your head. It's easy to think, wait, am I doing something wrong? But here's the truth. This isn't fat gain. Not even close. What you're seeing is your muscles pulling in more water. Creatine helps your muscle cells hold on to water, which actually improves performance, strength, and recovery. In other words, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The problem isn't the change itself, it's not expecting it. Because mentally, that number on the scale carries weight. You've probably trained yourself to see it as progress or failure. So when it goes up, even for a completely normal reason, it can feel like you're moving in the wrong direction. And this is where a lot of people over 50 start to doubt the process. They might cut back on creatine, change their routine, or even stop altogether. Right when their body is actually beginning to respond. But if you zoom out, this small increase in weight can actually be a positive sign. More water in your muscles often means better hydration at the cellular level, which supports strength and endurance. You might notice your workouts feel a bit stronger, your muscles look slightly fuller, and your recovery improves. So instead of focusing only on the scale, start paying attention to how your body feels and performs. Because sometimes, progress doesn't show up as a lower number, it shows up as a stronger, more capable version of you. Number 2, you might not look leaner. Right away, here's another effect people rarely talk about, but it can seriously mess with your expectations if you're not ready for it. When you first start taking creatine, you might expect to look sharper, tighter, and more defined almost immediately. After all, you're training, eating better, and now adding a supplement that's known for boosting performance, so naturally, you assume your physique will reflect that right away. But instead, you look in the mirror, and something feels off. You don't look worse, but you don't look as cut as you expected either. In fact, you might even feel a little softer. Not bloated in a bad way, just slightly less dry, less crisp. And if you've been chasing that lean, defined look, this can be frustrating. Here's what's actually happening. Creatine is pulling water into your muscle cells, increasing intracellular hydration. That's a good thing. It supports strength, endurance, and muscle fullness. But visually, it can temporarily blur the sharp lines you're used to seeing, especially if your body fat is already relatively low. And this is where perception becomes everything. Because even though your muscles may actually be fuller and better fueled, your brain is comparing what you see now to an expectation that didn't account for this phase. So instead of recognizing progress, you might feel like you've taken a step back. This is one of the biggest mental traps. People assume that if they don't look instantly leaner, something isn't working. But in reality, your body is adjusting, storing more water where it matters most, inside the muscle, not under the skin. Over time, as your body adapts and your training continues, that fuller look can actually turn into a stronger, more solid appearance. Your muscles don't just look bigger, they start to look more alive, more capable. So, if you notice that slightly softer look in the beginning, don't panic. It's not fat, it's not failure. It's just part of the process that almost nobody warns you about, and understanding it can be the difference between quitting early or pushing through and seeing real results. Number 3, energy feels different, in a good way. Now here's a positive effect that often flies under the radar, but it might be one of the most important ones. After a short time on creatine, you may begin to notice something subtle during your workouts. Nothing extreme, nothing that makes you feel like a completely different person overnight. But there's a slight shift, a small edge. Maybe it's one more rep than usual, maybe you recover just a bit faster between sets, and maybe the weight that used to feel heavy suddenly feels manageable. It's not dramatic, but it's real. And this is where creatine quietly does its best work. It helps your muscles produce energy more efficiently during short bursts of effort. So instead of hitting fatigue as quickly, you're able to push just a little further. And that little further is where progress lives. The problem is, most people are looking for big, obvious changes. They want instant strength jumps or visible transformations. So these small improvements are easy to overlook or dismiss. But over time, they start to stack up in a powerful way. One extra rep turns into 2, a slightly better set turns into a stronger workout. A stronger workout turns into real, measurable progress over weeks and months. And for people over 50, this matters even more. Because progress isn't about sudden leaps anymore, it's about consistency and smart, sustainable improvements. Creatine supports exactly that. It gives you just enough of a boost to train harder without feeling like you're overdoing it. You might also notice that you finish your workouts feeling less drained. Not exhausted in a bad way, but more like you still have something left in the tank. That can make it easier to stay consistent, and consistency is where the real transformation happens. So don't underestimate these small wins. They might seem minor in the moment, but they compound over time. And before you know it, those tiny improvements have turned into noticeable strength, better performance, and a body that feels more capable than it did before. Number 4, daily activities can feel easier. This one is subtle, but incredibly powerful once you notice it. After 50, it's not always the workouts that feel the hardest, it's the everyday stuff. The small routine movements you used to do without thinking, now they take a bit more effort. Climbing a few flights of stairs leaves you slightly winded. Carrying groceries feels heavier than it should. Even getting up quickly from a chair can feel slower, less fluid. And here's where creatine quietly makes a difference. Most people associate creatine with lifting weights or building muscle, but its real magic shows up in those short bursts of energy your body uses all day long. Every time you push, lift, stand, or climb, your muscles rely on quick energy systems, and creatine helps support that process. So what does that look like in real life? It might mean walking upstairs without needing to pause halfway. It might mean carrying shopping bags in one trip instead of 2. It might mean feeling more stable, more confident, more in control of your movements. Again, it's not dramatic. You're not suddenly sprinting up hills or lifting twice as much. But there's a noticeable ease, a sense that your body is working with you instead of against you. And that feeling matters more than people realize. Because when everyday movements feel easier, you naturally stay more active. You move more, you avoid less, and you maintain a level of independence and confidence that's easy to lose over time. That alone can have a huge impact on your overall health and quality of life. This is why creatine isn't just about performance in the gym, it's about performance in life. It supports the kind of strength and energy that carries over into everything you do, not just your workouts. So if you start noticing that daily tasks feel a little smoother, a little less tiring, don't brush it off. That's not random. That's your body responding, adapting, and becoming more capable in ways that truly matter day to day. Number 5. Hydration becomes more noticeable. Here's something you'll definitely feel, especially if you ignore it. When you start taking creatine, your body's demand for water quietly goes up. Not in an obvious alarm bell kind of way, but enough that if you don't adjust, you'll notice it. And usually, you'll notice it the hard way. At first, it might feel like your energy is off, you're a bit more tired than usual, your workouts don't feel as smooth. Maybe your muscles feel tighter, or you even get mild cramps that seem to come out of nowhere. Nothing extreme, but enough to make you think, is creatine actually causing this? Here's the truth. It's not the creatine, it's the lack of hydration. Creatine works by pulling water into your muscle cells. That's part of what helps improve performance and strength. But if you're not drinking enough water to support that process, your body starts to feel the imbalance. It's like trying to run a machine without enough fuel. It just doesn't operate the way it should. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They assume these symptoms are a negative side effect, so they stop taking creatine altogether. But in reality, it's one of the easiest problems to fix. All it takes is being more intentional with your hydration. Drinking water consistently throughout the day, not just when you feel thirsty, can completely change how your body responds. When you're properly hydrated, those sluggish, heavy feelings often disappear. Your workouts feel better, your muscles function more smoothly, and overall, you just feel more on. You might even notice better endurance and less fatigue during your sessions. That's when creatine really starts to shine, when your body has everything it needs to use it effectively. So if you're feeling off after starting creatine, don't panic and don't quit too soon. Take a look at your water intake first, because sometimes what feels like a problem is actually your body asking for a simple adjustment, and once you make it, everything starts to click into place. Number 6. Results take time, and that can be frustrating. Let's be honest for a second. After 50, progress doesn't show up overnight, and deep down, you probably already know that. But that doesn't stop the frustration when you're putting in the effort and not seeing immediate, visible changes. You're training, staying consistent, adding creatine, and still, the mirror doesn't seem to reflect all that hard work right away. That's where expectations can quietly work against you. Because creatine isn't a quick fix supplement. It doesn't flip a switch and suddenly transform your body in a week. What it does is far more subtle and far more powerful in the long run. It supports your performance, it helps you train just a little better, recover a little faster, and stay a little more consistent. But here's the catch. Those benefits build slowly. At first, you might not see much. No dramatic visual change. No instant wow moment. And if you're expecting fast, visible results, it's easy to feel like something isn't working. That's when doubt creeps in. You start questioning the supplement, your routine, maybe even yourself. But the real progress is happening beneath the surface. Every slightly stronger workout, every extra rep, every small improvement in recovery. It's all adding up, quietly, consistently. And over time, those small wins start to compound into something you can actually see and feel. This is especially important after 50, because your body responds best to steady, sustainable progress, not extreme changes. Creatine fits perfectly into that approach. It's not here to rush the process, it's here to support it. So, instead of chasing instant results, shift your focus. Pay attention to how you feel during workouts. Notice your strength, your energy, your consistency. Because those are the early signs that things are moving in the right direction. Stick with it long enough, and what once felt slow will start to feel solid, real, earned, and far more lasting than anything that happens overnight. Number 7. The biggest effect is mental. Here's the part nobody really talks about, but it might be the most important of all. The biggest effect of creatine isn't physical, it's mental. Not because creatine changes your mind directly, but because of how easy it is to misread what's happening in your body. And when your expectations don't match reality, your mindset can start working against you without you even realizing it. Think about it. Your weight goes up slightly, you assume it's fat. Your body looks a bit softer, you think you're losing definition. Your progress feels slower than expected, and you start questioning everything. Individually, these changes seem small, but together, they can create doubt. And doubt is powerful. It makes you second-guess your routine, your effort, even your decisions. And this is where many people go wrong. They're actually on the right track. Their body is adapting, responding, improving in ways that aren't immediately obvious. But because the signs don't match what they expected to see, they interpret it as failure instead of progress. That mental shift can lead to real consequences. You might stop taking creatine too early, you might change your routine unnecessarily, or worse, you lose motivation altogether because it feels like nothing is working. But here's the truth. Creatine is doing its job. You just have to understand how to read the signals. The scale isn't the full story. The mirror can be misleading in the short term, and progress after 50 doesn't always show up in dramatic, instant ways. Sometimes it shows up in consistency, in small performance improvements, in how your body feels day to day. Once you recognize that, everything changes. Instead of reacting emotionally to every small fluctuation, you start seeing the bigger picture. You become more patient, more consistent, and more confident in the process. And ironically, that mindset shift becomes the real advantage. Because when you stop misinterpreting the signs, you stop sabotaging your own progress, and that's when creatine can truly start working for you, not against your expectations. Number 8. The truth that changes everything. So here's the real takeaway, and it's probably not what most people expect. Creatine after 50 isn't a magic solution. It's not something you take, and suddenly everything changes overnight. There's no instant transformation, no dramatic before and after in just a few days. And if that's what you're expecting, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But here's what it is. Creatine is a powerful support tool, a quiet, consistent advantage that works in the background, helping you get more out of the effort you're already putting in. It supports your performance, helps you push a little harder, recover a little better, and maintain strength in a phase of life where that becomes more important than ever. And that's the key, support. It's not replacing your training, it's not fixing a poor routine or inconsistent habits. It works with the basics, not instead of them. So if your workouts are all over the place, your hydration is low, or your nutrition isn't dialed in, creatine won't magically cover that up. But when you combine it with consistency, that's when things start to shift. When you show up regularly, stay hydrated, eat well, and keep training. Even on the days you don't feel like it, creatine enhances that process. It helps turn small efforts into meaningful progress over time, and this is where most people either succeed or fail. The ones who see results aren't necessarily doing anything extreme. They just understand what creatine actually does and what it doesn't do. They don't panic over small weight changes. They don't quit because results aren't instant. They stay patient, trust the process, and keep stacking those small wins, because in the end, that's what this is really about. Not quick fixes, not shortcuts, but building strength, energy, and consistency that lasts. And when you approach creatine with that mindset, it stops being just another supplement and becomes a tool that actually helps you stay strong, active, and capable for the long run. So before you judge creatine too quickly, ask yourself, are you seeing the full picture, or just reacting to the small changes you didn't expect? If this video helped you understand creatine on a deeper level, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around for more simple fitness tips. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these effects after taking creatine? Let me know in the comments below.